Hello y'all, today I'm going to show you how to make a corsage and the corsage bows out of the corsage ribbon. I'm Deanna Carroll with Ivycreates. We're going to make an easy and simple corsage today. I grew up in a flower shop. I've been in the flower business for the majority of my life, and so I'm going to show you the easiest way you could possibly do this. And try, in the process, not to burn any of my body parts that I want to keep. So, the first thing we start off with is we're going to need our ribbon. This ribbon came from the Dollar Tree, so it's super fancy. Sheer ribbon. And this one actually probably came from Hobby Lobby, and it is super fancy also. And it's got wires on the edges. You can choose the different ways that you want to do, or whatever kind of ribbon you want. I'll go into that in just a second. This is a his and hers. That's the studio his and hers, and it is actually in the floral section at the Hobby Lobby. It's a wristlet with elastic for $1.99. And that's what it looks like right there. And we'll go into more of that. And then I just have a little stem of some tiny roses. These are like the cabbage roses. I just broke apart a stem of those, and I think that might have cost me around, I don't know, $3, if that. So I have $1, $2, so that's 3 total. $3, that's 6 total. $7, $8 about roughly, maybe a little bit more, but under $10 we're going to have a corsage. And hot glue gun, I think, is about to die because it is just getting way too hot lately. It's going through the change. So about these wristlets, now there are a lot of little girls out there that are very small, have very tiny wrists, and they do actually make these in smaller sizes. They make these so small in smaller sizes, and you can also use a safety pin to make them smaller if you needed to, and they can make them in larger sizes. But there's also, you don't have to do this at all if you don't want to. This just makes it a whole heck of a lot easier to have a frame to work on for a corsage. So, but you could just have a bow, and then when you get finished with the bow, you could simply tie the ribbon around the wrist, which is, I'm sure, what the Victorians did. So you could have the bow up here and just tie it around the wrist on the bottom, and it would be work out just as easily. So don't think you have to go and get this specific item. You don't need that, but we're going to use it for today just for the ease of use, so you can understand what that's about. So in the first part I'm going to do, and I could do this several different ways if however you want to do it. This ribbon, the sheer ribbon, really doesn't have a front or a back. It looks the same pretty much on either side. And when choosing ribbons for a corsage, most of the girls, of course, wear wristlets nowadays. Not too many of them wear the old big football mums on the shoulder, or any other kind of corsage. They just wear wristlets. So, but when you're choosing 2 ribbons for your corsage, and most of the ones that we do have 2 ribbons with them, you generally want to choose a main ribbon, which is the main color of the dress, and then an accent color, which is could be the color of the shoes, the color of the jewelry. It could be silver, gold, maybe she's got red shoes and a black dress or something like that. So you want to have 2 different colors that complement each other, or you can have 2 of the same color. Now in our case we have blush and bashful because it is our signature color. And you might not be old enough to know what I'm talking about, but most people will. So, Blush and Bashful or as we like to call it, pink and pink. Okay? And if you have never seen the steel magnolias, you must see it. So I'm going to use these two pieces here. And another good thing about choosing the two different colors of ribbon is you can choose one maybe that's super shiny or sparkly, and then one that's not. And the other thing we pulled off of our bush was our leaves. A lot of times you'll see the really fake looking leaves whenever you see them making corsages. They don't have to be like that. You can just use the leaves off of any bush. And you may want to have on hand, of course you want to have a glue gun and some glue, and some sparkly things like some jewels or gemstones, or not real, of course, some beading or beadwork or whatever you want to be pretty on your corsage. You can do that, or you can just get some spray glitter and use the pretty iridescent glitter and run it over the top, and it makes everything look great. So the first type of bow that I'm going to do, and I could do these as a stack bow, a multi-bow, which is basically I just stack the ribbon like this and then make my bow. And I could do that, and that is perfectly fine. Or I could do a stack bow like this and then do another bow on top of it of the other ribbon. So either way you want to do it is perfectly fine. Like I said, this is your project, and you do it however it is you want to do it. So I'm just going to do this stack bow right here, and I'm going to start by putting the smaller ribbon on top of the bigger ribbon that's down below. And you can see they've got a little sheen to them, a little sparkle. It's very important that all girls must be sparkled. So I'm going to make my first loop, and you guys have seen me do bows like this before, and I do them so fast that you might not even catch it sometimes. I can do them that fast. So I have to really slow myself down to be able to stop. But I have another video that's all about bows and all about ribbon. So please go over and look at that, and it'll show you exactly how to make a proper bow, and you make the bow any way you want to. So now for me, I'm going to twist this bow around here and come back with another loop, making sure that my smaller ribbon stays on top. And I will tell you this too about doing corsage bows. I fight with this one really hard. I always make everything bigger. And another Steel Magnolias reference. My work gets poofy when I'm nervous, so, you know, I get a little poofy when I'm nervous. But my bows come out too big, always, they do, and I can't help it, it's just the way it is. But these little girls, you do have to remember, are usually tiny, because we're all tiny at that age, and so we want to make our bows tiny as well. So that's what I'm trying to do here, is hold the size of my bow to a small, minimal, giant bow. So I'm just making loops now, and I usually, with most bows, until you get more experience and you know the differences between the types of ribbons and stuff, do 5 to 7 loops. If it is a wired ribbon, you can do 3. And when I say 5 to 7, I mean, here's the middle of the bow, 1, 2, 3, 4 on each side, so I want one more, I want to do 5. So I'm going to do to where both sides have 5 loops on them. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to go down and twist and come back one more time with one loop. And that is going to be our little corsage bow, which is actually quite huge. But you'll be able to see it good on the camera. That's all I can say, is you can see it good on camera. So now I'm going to go and definitely want to do streamers. You may want to do more than you think you need, because with the streamers you can always cut them off if it's too much. So, but I like to do a lot of streamers on the bows. Depending on what occasion it is, you always want to have streamers. So now you can see that I'm cutting fairly long streamers, and if I need to, I can always go back and make them shorter. Alright, so I have my streamers, I have my piece here. Now I could go and I can tie this with another piece of ribbon, and that's my little sheer non-wired edge. Makes for the easiest tie. If I want to, I could also go in and tie this with a wire, which is 9 times out of 10 is going to be my preference. So you can see I went through the middle, and I'm just going to come around to the back and tie it. No small feat, one-handed, might say. Tie it that way, and then pull it as tight as I can physically pull it. And then give it another tie knot and pull it tight. So that leaves me with 2 long tails in the middle of my ribbon, which, like I said, you can go and just tie that straight onto the wrist with a little knot down at the bottom, because 9 times out of 10 a corsage is for one occasion and one occasion only, and they're never going to wear that particular corsage ever again. So if you tie it around the wrist, you can just cut it off whenever it's time to come off. So or you can tie it in a bow to where it'll come off easily. That's entirely up to you. So now I'm just going to yank on it, because that's what we do. We got to yank on it to get our little loops in places where we might want them. So that's what I'm doing now. I made sure it was good and tight. Spread my little loops around, and then pull my streamers down. And you do whatever you want to on the streamers. That is always a subjective thing, and the girls usually tell us what they want, and they bring in photographs of their dresses, or they might even bring the dress itself, or they might even come in and model the dress, all for a corsage. So they get what they want. So now you can see I have this really pretty kind of see-through pink bow. Put it on my hand, you can see it a little bit better. I don't know if that'll help. Okay. So really pretty, and I still have my tails here that I tied the bow with, which is my clear satin, my what do you call it? I'm sorry, I lost the word. My sheer satin, that's what it is. Alright, so if I were to tie it onto the wrist, and I wouldn't be tying this on myself, and someone else would be doing it for me, but that's, that can give you an idea of, it would be, and you cut your streamers to whatever length you want and all that good business. So, but we're not doing that today. It is very possible to do. So we're going to be using our little backer piece. And remember, I said you don't have to use these things, but it is nice to have them. Alright, phase 2 of our corsage making adventure. So, what we want to do now, we've made our bow, we've selected our stuff, and we're going to try not to burn ourselves, no promises, but what I want to do now is take some leaves, because the main basis of doing all good floral design is covering up your work. In other words, you don't want the undersides of everything showing. It's just like you would be on a stage. You don't want the backstage showing. You only want to see what's in the front of the stage. Same with flowers. You only want to see what's on the front side. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of glue and put it right here. Now, you see these little tabs? If I were using real flowers, and if I were doing a different, our typical old-fashioned corsage that we used to do, you bend the little tabs in on each other to make sure that the flowers stay secure. But we don't have to do that anymore. We can do things with just some simple hot glue and you're done. And you can even do it with your flowers, because even if they're real flowers, because I mean, come on, you're only going to have to use this flower for one night. So that is the other reason for like waiting till the last minute to make this sort of stuff. You can buy your flowers, have them sitting in the fridge and just ready and waiting. And whenever it's time, the day before or the day of, or however you want to do it, you can make up your little corsage and have it done, and you can stick it back in the fridge and it can just sit there. And it's going to be fun out of water overnight, as long as it's cool and it's not in a hot place, preferably in the fridge. You'll be fine. So I'm just gluing the first set of leaves. Now, remember I said a lot of these girls are teeny tiny, so I am showing you a little bit larger than I would typically do for a tiny little girl. In that case, if I had a really small girl, I might choose to do a really small leaf and not something as big as this is, or even tinier. You know, you can choose the size that you want to have. You don't have to have the size that I'm using. It's easier for me to work with and easier for you to see if I've got a larger size. So I just glued 2 of my leaves to the back here. And the next thing I want to do is take my beautiful bow, and I'm going to glue that on top of the leaves that I've got. So I want to put a dab of glue right up through here, and fairly generous about it. And then take my bow, and I'm going to sit it down right in the middle of this. Ouch. Like I said, I'm just going to burn myself just a little touch. But anyways, I'm going to set it right up in the middle of my corsage. And you want the leaves to be, you know, up and down, to be longer down the arm. You don't want to do this sideways. You don't want it sitting like this. You want it to be sitting like this. So do pay attention when you're putting your wristlet on that you're headed the right direction there. So you can see I've got my streamers going down. I've got my little loopies going up. I can still move them around as I'm kind of waiting for my glue to dry a touch. And you can see the back of it just like this. Very simple. See? And we are halfway to a corsage now. And, you know, we hadn't had the first bit of trouble. It's just gluing 2 leaves and a bow. And that's it. And I mean, if worse comes to worse, if you absolutely cannot make the bow, buy one and glue it on there. Because you can buy pre-made bows as well. Alright. So the next thing that I want to do on my little corsage is I want to start adding some of my flowers. Now, when you're doing, if you were doing live flowers, typically 3, 5, 7 flowers are going to be your standard. 5 to 7 roses is usually what you use, and you use the small roses like the spray roses. You don't use sweethearts or anything like that. You use spray roses, and that way you can put about 5 roses in there. Or you can use you know, the silk or the small cabbage roses or whatever you want to do. So what we're going to do is I usually just start placing my roses, and I want to know about where they're going to go. Have an idea of where you might like to put your roses. And in this case with the silk ones, I do also have these little buds, and so I can use those to add more. Now I didn't have to take these completely off the stem. I could have left a little stem on them, but for what we're doing, I'm just going to glue them. And that's my puppy. Okay, Now we have our little flower heads, and we are just going to basically set them around until we decide what we think looks best. So it could be that you only want 2 flower heads. Maybe you want 3 full flower heads, and you want to arrange them so that they're even amongst the bow. And remember what I'd said earlier, that a bow does not have to be perfection, because over time what you're going to do by adding the little things into it is you're going to make it perfection. So it doesn't have to be just perfect when you're putting it together. So maybe I like my roses like this now. There are, like I said, many ways that you could put your roses, and it would be it's all in how you want to do it. It's not how I want to do it, it's how you want to do it. Because I'm not the one wearing the corsage, and actually it's not even how you want to do it, it's how the little lady that, or little gentleman or whoever, will be wearing the corsage. So I'm going to add in some more glue. And I'm just gluing the backs of these and sticking them in and around the bow. Just, don't make it harder than it has to be. It's not. We're just going to add the roses to our bow, which is added onto our arrangement. And you can see now I've got 3 of my roses, and this is what it would look like on my wrist, which would be fine. And I could leave the streamers long, I could cut them. Some of the girls, they like to put lettering on their streamers. Whatever you want, like I said, it's your world, you do what you want. So I'm going to go back now and maybe add a few more things to our corsage. I might want to add another rose to the top right in here and tuck it down in there. So let's see. So all I'm going to do with this is, I think actually I want to put another leaf in there first. So I'm going to stick my small leaf down into the slot where I want to put this rose. And the reason why I'm putting this other leaf, I don't really need to have this other leaf, but I wanted to build up a little height for my rose. Give it a little bit more off of, because it is a tiny rosebud, and I wanted to give it a little bit more room on there and make it come forward a little bit more. So hang on one second, I'm going to add a new piece of glue stick to my glue gun. Alright, and I am just melting the end of the glue stick and sticking it in the back of the glue gun so that it will stick to the glue stick in front, and I won't have to worry about pushing and pushing and pushing it down in there to get it to feed in. Alright, so that should be dry enough. It doesn't take glue long at all to dry. And I'm just going to put a little dab on the back of the rosebud and stick it right in here on top of my leaf. Okay. And you can see it starting to add already. So I have a few more, and I don't know if I'll need to add another leaf in the bottom or not. I might add one right in here. And here's where the design part comes in. In your world, you do whatever you want. This is my world, and I am doing what I want. So I'm going to tuck this in right in behind this loop, I think. Alrighty. And I'm always checking to see how it would look on my arm, or her arm, in case. And I think I'm going to add another leaf over here. And this is just a building process. It is not not an exact science, you know. You can do it, like I said, however you want to do it. And I just like, to me, this is the fairy tale part of going to prom and going to homecoming and all of that good stuff. It's the fairy tale. And that's the fun part. Alright, in case y'all wonder what I'm doing when I do that, glue gun makes its own little spider webs. And they get stuck on everything, so I try to remove them when I can. So you can see starting to come together. I might add one more back here, possibly. Another thing to remember is it does not have to, the best thing about working with silks is you don't have a lot of the constraints you have with live flowers, because you can pretty much do anything you want to them and they don't care. So that's a wonderful thing. So I think I'm gonna do that. Put a little dab of glue in there. I could have put it on the leaf. Either way, it doesn't matter. I'm just putting a little dab of glue. Okay. We can see how that's looking. And now I'm going to go back in where I've added these little leaves. And I want to maybe add a bud, and that is the ultimate reason as to why I was adding the leaves, because I wanted to add more buds. And I don't really, this one's bothering me, and I know that sounds insane, but it's bothering me. So I'm going to chip it off a little bit and snip it, and you'll never know. And just round the little edge piece. Alright, that's better. And I'm going to put another bud here. Alright, little drop of glue, little bud, and we are good on that. I love these pink little cabbage roses. They are just so sweet. I think I'm going to snip this one down too. Best thing about design is you can always change your mind. You can change it all different kinds of ways, in fact. And if you don't like it, you can definitely change your mind. Alright, now I have two little, really, I don't even know how to describe them. They don't even have color on them yet as far as buds go. And then I have one pink one left. So you don't have to use every one. I mean, seriously, when you do something, part of the design is, you know, knowing when to stop. And excuse me, for many people that is a very difficult place to be, knowing when to stop, knowing when you're done. And I am not totally immune to that. Most of the time I do know when I'm done, but there are some times when you can't stop yourself, so you continue on until you find a place that you can. And that is part of painting, part of design, part of anything that you do. And you just find a stopping spot, and you stop. Okay. And I think I have one more. Go ahead and do that. Right, maybe right here. Yeah, that's it. This is a bit like the Build-A-Bear workshop, if you're familiar with that, except we're building a bow. And that's all we're doing with the flowers as well. We're building a bow. And putting the flowers on it, it's just part of the whole shebang. Alright, just snip those off a little bit. Alright. Let's see what we got here. Alright, now this is our very sweet, I don't know if I can show you, our sweet little corsage. And let's see, right here. It's kind of hard to say because to see it because it's pink, it's baby pink. So let me see. Is that better? Maybe that helps a little bit. You can see it. If I were to wear it on my arm, I have it right here and it would be here. Okay? And that would show you about how it's going to look if you were wearing it on your arm. Okay, and that is basically, for all intents and purposes, that's done. You don't have to do anything else to it, and really didn't take that long, did it? I mean, it really didn't. It's very simple to make. So now, if I wanted to, and remember I said we chose 2 different colors of ribbon. You could choose 2 different colors if you wanted to. And if I wanted to, I could go back and embellish it. And what are the ways in which I would embellish? Let's say that my person attending whatever event she's attending, or he or whoever, let's say that they were going to be wearing pink and silver. Okay, well, what can we do to make pink and silver? Now, like I said earlier, you can buy gems. You can buy all kinds of stuff. You can buy $1 chenille stems, and you take them and you wrap it around a pin like so, like so. Okay, and you pull it off your pin to where it has a little curly Q. You see the little curly Q? Alright, and then all we would do is I'm going to bend this up because I didn't need it quite that long. You could make this, cut it off, make it shorter, however you want to do, but we're just using it for instance. You embellish yours however you want it embellished. But you can see, let me turn the light back up. You can see that I've added a silver piece, a little silver curly Q right in here. And you could add as many silver curly Qs as you want to make it match whatever coloring you want it to make it match. So I'm just going to wrap it around my pin like this, and you can choose whatever size pin you want. That's another cool thing about this trick, is you can choose whatever size pin you want. And I use, believe it or not, we use this trick on a lot of things, including Christmas decorations and stuff. You know, just to, whatever you want it to do, you can do it, make it pretty, make it crazy, however you want it made. Okay, so that's just an example of a way that you might embellish on the cheap and match the colors, because the colors to the girls is very important to match their outfits. So I could use silver. If I wanted to, I could use gold, and you might be able to see it better on the gold. Let's see. So I'm going to take my end piece here and hold it, and then wrap it around my pin. Any size pin you want to use, Mine just happens to be a very fancy schmancy Faber-Castell Maca pen. Alright, see? Made curlicue. I can stretch it out. I can push it in. I can do all kinds of stuff with this. And then I'm just going to fold over the end and pretend like my person, whoever I've made this for. I always do have somebody in mind, and that is the one thing I will say about designers is we typically meet the girls in person, and they work specifically with us so that they know exactly who's going to be doing their flowers, because these are life-changing events for these kids. You know, this is you know, the once-in-a-lifetime type of thing that they do. And so they want it to be absolutely perfect. And so we do that, and we meet with them. We see their dresses. We get their color selections. We pick out their ribbon. We put their ribbons in a box, and that usually means nobody else gets to use that ribbon for that year. So because typically it's just one person's ribbon, and that's it. So if you wanted to do something crazy, you could do something crazy. You can add it to wherever you want to add it. Add a bunch of them to give you a lot of different looks, and make them small, make them big, whatever you want to do. You could put beads on this chenille stem. You don't have to settle for just having curlicues. You could put stuff on there as well. Beads and all that good stuff. So I'm going to set this to the side, and I want to show you something else. You just use your creative ideas on whatever you're doing, and so that way it's unique and it's 100% you. So if I have, like, these are those Dollar Tree foam scatter balls, okay, and they sparkle. They're really pretty sparkly. You can't really see how really pretty sparkly they are, but they are. So if I wanted to, on these, I could glue them in and amongst my flowers, and that's another option for adding that little something something to my corsage. You know, and each girl is going to be different as far as what they're going to want. You can add baby's breath. You can, you can add baby's breath. You can add little small flowers. Whatever you want to do to your corsage, it's all you. So I hope you really got some value out of this. I hope you subscribe and share and show your friends and see if you can try this out yourself. I would love to see pictures of things that you might try yourself to make it look beautiful, and I'd love to see how it went. You can leave me comments. If you contact me on Facebook and you have questions, I will be happy to answer them for you. You just have to get in touch with me, and I'll be glad to help you. My foam balls are going everywhere, y'all. I'm so sorry. But I'll be more than happy to help you with whatever you may need on your corsage or a wedding bouquet or whatever you have. If you want advice or questions, or is there something that you would like to see, just let me know and I will be glad to do it for you. And this is my sweet little corsage that I've made. And I don't want to leave the embellishments because I am not going to a fancy party, but I think it's a very romantic and sweet little pink corsage. And that's all there is to it. So have a wonderful evening, and I hope you really enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed making it for you. Thank you. Hi, did you click that subscribe button and the notification bell? Well, if you don't hit that notification bell, you will miss out on our Thursday videos. So please go ahead, click it, and you'll be able to watch our videos that are coming up.